Hey, what's going on everyone? Sam here with Pro Tackle. So you're interested in the SLX DC by Shimano. We're gonna break down everything that's in the box here. We're gonna just do an unboxing, and I'm gonna talk about some of the cool features that it has, all the technology in it, after we do the unboxing. But you know, if you're on the edge of going for the SLX DC, there are a bunch of other options, not just from Shimano, but from some other companies. We've got a lot of them here at the shop at Pro Tackle here. You can go to lakeprotackle.com, see our full inventory, updated stock as well. We've got a bunch of cool reels. If you haven't seen the first video that we did an unboxing in a in-depth video about the regular SLX, and we're gonna make this a whole series here about different reels, kind of what all their features are, how they compare to other reels in the same series, and we're just gonna have fun with it. So guys, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and break open this box here. Again, this is a Shimano reel, the SLX DC. So this is kind of the highest end SLX reel that they have, a very popular one across the board that Shimano sells. This guy retails for $189.99, and it has the DC technology. And a lot of people don't know a lot about the DC technology. It's a really cool thing that Shimano has in some of their reels, namely the SLX, the Corrado, Metanium, and Terry's, as well as some JDM models like the X-Sense, as well as the Scorpion. So they've got this really cool braking system in it that allows you to basically make a cast and not have to worry about thumbing the spool, or it makes it easy to flip under docks and stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and break this open here, talk about some specs as well. So right off the bat, we open this box here and you're met with the reel and some bubble wrap to make sure that reel is nice and pristine when you get it out of the box. So first off, we're gonna set the reel aside right here. We're gonna dig into the box. First off, we've got some Bantam oil. This oil is used for your bearings. Do not get this mistaken with grease. The oil only goes into your bearings, so do not grease your bearings. That will slow the reel down and basically just ruin the reel, to be honest. And you don't need a lot of oil when you're oiling your reels. Really, one drop will do in each bearing. And what I do a lot of the times is I take a needle or a very thin nail and I'll poke it in the top here. That way it gets a very, very small amount of oil in that reel, because too much oil in your bearings will basically clutter up those ball bearings and just make it a lot slower and not as efficient. So that's a quick tip for y'all. Next up, the other thing in the box, the last two things are gonna be the reel manual. So if any part of your reel goes bad, Shimano has a great warranty service. They have a great parts department. You can go online and actually order certain parts. So I've had a handle knob where that I just needed a new knob basically because I wore it down so much. And you can go on here and say, this part number for that knob is 6379 on the Shimano SLX. Look it up online, and what's really cool is you can order it straight off the website there, and it gets to you in a few days for shipping and stuff. So if you ever need to replace parts, this manual will tell you everything you need to know. I'm pretty sure it's got phone numbers and contact information if you need help with it. If not, you can go to a licensed service place that does Shimano stuff, as well as most other reel companies have that as well. So that's what's in the box. We're gonna go over some features here before we really open up this reel, but we're gonna open up the bubble wrap, show you the reel a little bit. It is a super awesome reel. This SLX DC is a kind of matte black finish. It's got blue highlights, which I really like. Shimano's colors are blue, black, gray, whites. Those kind of tones in this reel just really shouts to their craftsmanship and kind of how true they are to their details. So right off the bat, this reel comes with 12 pounds of drag. And Shimano really prides itself in having really smooth drag systems in their reels. Some companies have 22 pounds of drag. I'm gonna tell you, personally, I don't need 22 pounds of drag. If I've got a fish on that's pulling 22 pounds of drag on me, I've got world record class fish basically. And most of the time you've got to match your lineup anyway, and you can lock these down pretty tight to where you can't even turn that spool with it all the way cranked down. So 12 pounds of drag is plenty for me. This is one key that a lot of people don't know about the DC reels. The DC reels are actually quite a bit heavier than just regular base model reels, and that's because of the DC chip technology inside this reel. So this reel, the SLX DC, comes in at 7.6 ounces, which is half an ounce to a little more than that, more than a lot of the other reels. Like this regular SLX here is going to be 6.9 ounces. So it's almost half an ounce heavier, a little more. And what you're getting with that is a better braking system, or a more advanced braking system than your traditional reel. So next up, it's got 4 bearings plus 1 roller bearing. So it's still really smooth. It does not have micro module gearing like the Corrado series and up, but it is still very smooth. The longevity won't be as long as something like a Corrado Bantam Titanium with micro module gears, but it is still an extremely smooth reel. You can barely feel anything. Really, you can't feel anything in there right now. As you start going through wear and fishing it a lot, getting water in it, it might have not issues, but it's going to feel a little geary down the line. Next up, for line capacity, guys, we're looking at 110 yards of 12-pound mono or fluorocarbon, and that's a baseline. Some lines are a little thicker than others. So as a baseline, 12-pound mono or fluoro, you're going to get around 110 yards. For a braid, if you're throwing braid on this one, which is a great line to throw on your DC reels because it throws it so easy, is that you're going to get around 105 yards of 40-pound braid, and it's going to go less capacity as you go up in size, and of course more capacity as you go lower in size. Some of the technology used in this reel, Shimano has a lot of different technologies that they take from reels and put them in other ones. This one here has the Hagane body, so it's going to be a really strong body of this reel, so you're going to have a great reel feel. You're going to feel bites through your rod into the reel and into your hand, so it makes it really easy to detect really subtle bites, especially when the fishing gets tough. Something like a shaky head, it's going to be really easy to feel those. It has the DC4 technology, which is different. So Shimano right now has 2 different DC technologies. That's DC4 and DC5. DC4 is going to be in the SLX and Corrado series in America here, and then the DC5 is going to be in the Metaniums and the Antares series, so your higher end reels. And what they do, the big difference between those two is just how much braking and how smart that chip is in the reel itself. So this reel also has the S3D spool, and that really reduces the vibration that the spool has as you're casting. It's got thinner walled aluminum in that spool that makes it lighter, easier to cast as well as super free spool. So when you press down the clutch here, there's nothing touching that spool anymore, which allows you to cast very smoothly, and you're gonna have greater distance with that as well. So that's really all I have for the technology on this reel. This reel is packed with a lot of cool stuff, not only aesthetically, but in the technology built into it, it's really amazing. One thing that I really do like about it is the handles, the knobs on here. They didn't skimp on the handles, guys. Very tacky, especially when it gets wet. You're not gonna lose your grip on this reel. And what's really cool as well is, even though it's a little bit heavier than a lot of standard reels, it palms really nicely. The reel itself is just a little bit thicker than the standard SLX, and you're gonna notice that when you're holding it from the side. If you're holding it below it, you can't really feel that much of a difference at all. Now we're going to talk about the DC technology in particular here. So right off the bat, as you look at this reel, you're going to notice you've got the tension knob and you've got an external brake here, which controls the DC chip and how much braking is applied during your casts. So in the DC technology here, you've got 4 settings. You've got setting 1, 2, 3, and 4. Setting 1 basically is going to have the least amount of braking, and setting 4 is going to have the most amount of braking. Generally, if I'm throwing fluorocarbon, I'm going to have it on the 3 or 4. 4 if it's really windy. I don't use 4 too often, but it is a great setting for when you fish docks, if you're skipping under them or trying to make very precise casts on short range targets. Number 1 and number 2, I'm going to be throwing if I have very calm conditions, not very windy. And number 2 is actually meant for the braid setting. So it's going to have a very loose spool and then have a higher braking at the end of your cast, usually when your braid will normally backlash. So going into the internals on this reel. So all you have to do to take the side plate off, if you ever want to mess with the spool or if you're doing maintenance on it, there's a little lever. If you flip the reel over, there's a little lever right next to the foot of the reel. What you're gonna do is flick that upwards to where it says open. You're gonna hear a click. Let me see if I can get that here. You're You're gonna hear a click, guys, right there when you've got it done correctly. And now that you've got that clicked over, you're gonna take your reel and you're gonna hold the side of it. Use your thumb, put it around the side, and you're gonna push down, all right? You're gonna push down and it's gonna slightly open up, and that's gonna allow you to take the side plate off very simply right there. And this is your DC chip. Now the DC chip in here is actually very watertight, waterproof. I've submerged mine in water a couple times. You know, I've put it in freezing cold conditions, and I've left the side plate off and just kind of tested it, and it is very robust, guys. It's very hard to break the DC system in here. So very weatherproof. You don't have to worry about water getting in there, dirt getting in there. As long as it's not touching the spool or anything, you're gonna be fine. I suggest if you do get stuff in it, just rinse it off with water and just kind of shake it out. Make sure you get all that gunk out of there, and you're gonna greatly improve the life of your reel if you get it out of there. So definitely suggest doing that. You've got one bearing inside here, so if you do maintenance on it, you can drop a little drop of oil down there. You've got your spool right here. Really great spool, nice full blue. And then you've got the inside of the reel here. Now you won't be doing too much with this. If you do any maintenance on your reel, you're gonna take off the screws on the outside and then the 2 screws on the inside. And that's all you have to do for the maintenance. You're gonna open up, you're gonna see the gears, you're gonna see everything else. But that is that there. So I'm gonna put this back together, and we're gonna just kind of do an overview of the reel. And to put it back on, stick it on sideways, kind of exactly how it was when you took it off. So don't try to put it on straight on to where it looks like it would fit. You're gonna have to offset it first and then push it back up, and then make sure you click this lever and make sure it's clicked all the way down. One issue that I've heard with some of the SLX people that have used this is that they don't click the lever down all the way, and this actually comes loose in their hand while they're fighting a fish or making a cast. So make sure that lever is all the way down, and it's not too much of an issue, you know, while you're on the boat. Just look at it, flip your rod over and say, okay, it's locked down. All right, you know, that's it right there. You know, when you get this out of the package, you can actually spin this handle up and you can hear that reel working. And that sound there lets you know that that system is braking correctly. And, you know, I think overall it's a super cool reel, guys. You definitely want to check it out if you're looking to improve your casting game. I mean, you can almost spool these with 17-pound line. You know, 17-pound line, I think you're going to get around 85 yards. And you can definitely spool this reel. So there's a lot of different settings you can do depending on how loose your tension knob is and what brake setting you have. Generally, I'm going to be on setting 2 or 3 on the DC system with a pretty loose spool. You know, that 4 setting is going to have just a ton of braking power on it, and it's usually doesn't allow me to get a full cast out there. Some different techniques that you could throw on this reel include anything from like your crankbaits. I wouldn't throw anything too heavy on it. If you do want to throw heavier stuff, I would switch up to the Corrado line. It's got micro module gearing, it's got stronger parts, got more bearings. So if you do throw heavier lures on this, be warned that it will wear down your reel a lot faster over time than something like the Corrado series or up, like the Bantams. Those were more meant to handle that. Now, that's not to say 1/2 ounce is about where I'd stop with this one, 5/8 ounce. You can definitely throw bigger stuff on it. I would just suggest having a bigger reel. I've thrown anywhere from crankbaits, shaky heads, Texas rigs. You can get away with Carolina rigs. Again, nothing too heavy, but moving baits, super great. You can do a lot of different things on this reel. 3 different gear ratios, a 6, 7, and 8. And if you don't know how Shimano labels their gear ratios, you've got just the regular one here. You can see that it's just 150. And that just tells you the size of the reel. So this one without any letters is going to be a 6-speed HG. So let's say you get a SLX DC 150 HG, that's going to be a 7-speed, and then 150 XG is going to be an 8-speed. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, leave a like on this video. Definitely subscribe to the channel. If you want to pick one of these up for yourself, look right below in the video description and you can order one off our website. Guys, free shipping on this. Any orders over $50 are going to qualify for free shipping. That includes rods, reels, and tackle. And make sure to check out our fishing reports if you haven't already. We've got some awesome fishing reports up there as well. But thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time at Lake Pro Tackle.